Transgenderism must be eradicated from public life entirely. The whole preposterous ideology at every level.
Okay, so that was a speech over the weekend from another pathetic little weenie who's fashioned his entire life as a bad impersonation of Ben Shapiro. But anyway, he did have more to say in his genocidal rant. Take a look at this.
There can be no middle way in dealing with transgenderism. It is all or nothing. If transgenderism is true, if men really can become women, then it's true for everybody of all ages. If transgenderism is false, as it is, if men really can't become women, as they cannot, then it's false for everybody too. And if it's false, then we should not indulge it, especially since that indulgence requires taking away the rights and customs of so many people.
Of course, obviously you have to turn reality on its head. He's calling for, look, let's be real what he's calling for. He's calling for the destruction of millions of people, but what he's gonna pretend that he's calling for is just stripping away the rights of millions and millions of people. And that seems bad, especially coming from a small government conservative. So you have to flippity flip it that allowing transgender people to exist as they literally always have in every society, in every time, that takes away the rights of people for some reason. It makes no sense, but it doesn't need to. This is, after all, just grift. And we're gonna focus on how obviously purposefully genocidal this is in his Weasley little attempts to avoid responsibility for that. Can we just briefly turn to, has anyone in history ever given off little pathetic minion of a bully energy than that guy? Like he should have to deliver his CPAC speech like standing behind a larger man and occasionally leaning out to shout an insult and then hiding so he doesn't get punched in the face. His little crappy grins at everything that he says because he knows the grift that he's doing. He's calling for people to be beaten and killed so he can have a nice car. That's what his life is. It's not what his life was supposed to be. Bear in mind, we know from what Brett Ehrlich has said on the show before, this is a guy who thought he was going to be an actor in Hollywood. He wanted to literally live in LA and act in movies as an artist, and he couldn't hack it. So instead, he's giving speeches, bloodthirsty speeches to bloodthirsty crowds, calling for people to be beaten and killed. It's weird, the swerves life throws your way. But anyway, we're not supposed to say that he's calling for these people to be beaten and killed. We're supposed to pretend that because he's saying transgenderism, which isn't a thing, it's transgender people, they're people. It's not a thing, it's not an ism, these are human beings. He's pretending that that doesn't exist. So what he's calling for is just them to be shoved in the shadows and have all of their rights stripped away. And that's not supposed to be as horrific, it's not supposed to be as clear a violation of every supposed principle that conservatives are supposed to have. But as much as I like pointing that out, I do want to give credit to friend of the show, Parker Malloy, who says, her, I didn't say eradicate transgender people, I said eradicate transgenderism. And that's the game that he's playing. Let me demonstrate how he's playing the game. So Rolling Stone did a headline that had a direct quote from what he said. And it was CPAC speaker calls for transgender people to be eradicated. They put eradicated in quotes because that's the quote that he said. And then he replied with, this headline is libelous and I demand a retraction. And unfortunately what happened is Rolling Stone actually did the retraction. So do you see the game that we're gonna play? No, he didn't really mean that. So he sits in his little office or whatever and he thinks, Matt Walsh is getting a lot of bloodthirsty fans from calling for people to be killed that are transgender. And I desperately want to be more popular than him. So I think I'll just call to wipe out the entire group. I think that's what I'm going to do. Seems fine. I don't know any trans people. I don't give a damn about them. I'm not going to expose myself to a single person. I'm not going to try to learn because this isn't about reality. Politics is a game. It's fun. It's a way that I make money. So I'm gonna give a speech where I call for this community to be destroyed. And then when people point out that I gave a speech where I call for this community to be destroyed, I'll say, no, I added an ism to the end of it, so you're being dishonest. And every one of his fans is gonna be like, that's a good point. That's what he did, even though every one of them agrees with him that these people should be destroyed. That's the game that we're supposed to play. And unfortunately, some in the mainstream media are going to play that game. Now, look, I'm not even that mad at Rolling Stone. They're probably worried about being sued, because if Michael Knowles decides to sue them, millionaires and billionaires are gonna give him millions of dollars for legal support to do that. They're gonna make it a really high profile thing because they can afford to spend these millions of dollars because it occupies the time and thoughts of their base, so their base doesn't realize how they're being screwed over by Republican politicians. It's an investment, and he's an active participant in the con that's being waged on right-wingers across the country. But I do want to point out that this is their ideology. This is what they actually are calling for. And whether he actually cares or not, I don't know. I've long criticized many of these right-wingers for not actually caring about this stuff and just doing it as a performance. And I think there's certainly a part of that. But as I've said on the show before, I was in a green room with this little weenie once, and he randomly just brought up transgender people. Nothing was going on that had anything to do with transgender people. He just brought them on. So I am willing to give him a little bit of credit that he is as weird a person as he pretends to be on TV. He does just spontaneously think about trans people randomly as he goes about his day. Lots of them pretend to do that, but probably don't. No, he really does. He'll just be sitting on a couch and he'll randomly think about how much it bothers him that people hundreds of miles away are trans. It's super weird, but I guess it's authentic.
Check out the Damage Report podcast each day, wherever you get your podcasts, whether Pocket Casts or Stitcher or iTunes. You can join me as I give you the news and stories you want, with a range of co-hosts and interview guests jumping in on the fun each day. Again, that's the Damage Report, wherever you get your podcasts. And if you get them at iTunes, don't forget to rate and review. Sometimes I'll read them live on the show.